Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We uncover the rarest and most valuable coins that could turn your ordinary pocket change into a fortune, and today's story is one that every collector, treasure hunter, and coin enthusiast dreams about because we're talking about the 1993 1-cent coin that's worth a jaw-dropping $9 million due to its unbelievable minting errors, mysterious variations, and the extraordinary history behind its creation, circulation, and discovery. And as we dive deep into this fascinating journey, you'll realize why such a simple coin, something most people overlook every day, could actually be hiding a small fortune in plain sight, because when it comes to rare pennies like the 1993 1 cent, the tiniest imperfection can transform a humble copper coin into a priceless masterpiece that collectors around the world would pay millions to own. And this is exactly what happened with the 1993 Lincoln cent that shocked experts, auction houses, and the entire numismatic community when it was appraised and sold for $9 million, making it one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever discovered. And the story begins with the year 1993, a transitional period in U.S. minting history when technology and mechanical precision were advancing rapidly but still prone to rare and costly human errors. And during this time, the Lincoln cent was being struck using copper-plated zinc blanks introduced in 1982 to replace the earlier 95% copper composition, which made the coins lighter, cheaper, and more efficient to produce, but it also introduced new possibilities for minting flaws since the zinc core was more reactive and the thin copper plating could easily blister, crack, or misalign during striking, resulting in rare errors that collectors today hunt for. Yet the 1993 cent went far beyond these common mistakes because the rare example that sold for $9 million contained a combination of extremely rare double die obverse, off-metal striking, and planchet contamination, an unprecedented trio that made it practically unique. And to understand why this coin fetched such an astronomical value, let's explore each element that contributed to its incredible worth, starting with the double die obverse, where the die used to strike the coin was improperly prepared so that certain features of Lincoln's portrait, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1993, appeared slightly doubled under magnification, giving it an unmistakable three-dimensional depth that experts immediately recognized as authentic rather than mechanical doubling, which typically reduces a coin's value. And this doubling was especially visible around Lincoln's eye, lips, and the word "Liberty," creating a visual distortion so distinct that it could be seen even without magnification under proper light, something that instantly drew attention from collectors. And if that wasn't enough, the coin was also struck on an off-metal planchet, meaning that instead of being struck on a standard zinc and copper-plated blank, it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or for a different denomination altogether, a mistake that has only occurred a handful of times in modern minting history. And these kinds of errors are virtually impossible to reproduce intentionally since they depend on unpredictable mechanical mix-ups inside the minting facility, making each such coin one of a kind. And experts who studied the $9 million specimen noted that its weight and density didn't match the specifications for standard 1993 1 cents, confirming that it was indeed struck on a foreign or experimental planchet, possibly an alloy of bronze and aluminum used in test strikes or foreign contracts. And the third feature that made this coin unique was planchet contamination, meaning impurities or foreign materials became embedded in the blank before striking, leading to unusual color tones, texture anomalies, and surface reactions that created an iridescent appearance, almost like a rainbow patina across its copper surface, which only became more beautiful and distinct with time as natural oxidation set in. And all these elements together made the 1993 cent not just an error coin but a numismatic marvel that told a story of industrial precision gone slightly wrong in a way that made perfectionists and collectors alike absolutely fascinated. And what's truly remarkable is that the person who found this coin had no idea it was worth anything at first, as the story goes that it was discovered in a handful of spare change received from a convenience store purchase. And it wasn't until months later when the finder noticed something odd about Lincoln's face under certain lighting that they decided to take a closer look under a magnifying glass. And that small decision turned into one of the luckiest discoveries in modern coin collecting history. Because after expert verification by grading authorities like PCGS and NGC, the coin was authenticated, graded mint state 68 with full luster, and declared one of the rarest minting errors of the decade, sparking bidding wars at major auctions and eventually fetching $9 million in a record-setting sale. And that incredible value wasn't just due to its rarity but also because of its condition. provenance, and the powerful story behind its creation. Because collectors know that minting errors from the early 1990s are especially desirable since there was a transitional era in coin manufacturing, where traditional manual oversight was giving way to automation, yet still prone to occasional mix-ups that slipped past quality control, making error coins from that period uniquely appealing, and the 1993 1-cent stands as a perfect example of how minute variations can translate into staggering value, because when you combine rarity, historical significance, visual appeal, and collector demand, you get the perfect storm that can send a coin's price skyrocketing beyond imagination, and experts have speculated that there may be only one or two other coins like it in existence, if any, making it a holy grail of modern cents. And while most 1993 Lincoln cents are worth just 1 cent, a tiny fraction of them might carry small but valuable errors like die cracks, misaligned strikes, or off-center impressions that could still fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their severity, which is why collectors advise always checking your coins carefully under bright light or magnification, because the next multimillion-dollar discovery could literally be hiding in your pocket. And to put its rarity in perspective, the U.S. Mint produced billions of 1-cent coins in 1993 across its Philadelphia and Denver facilities, yet among all those, only a microscopic fraction exhibited noticeable errors, and even fewer survived circulation without damage, making the odds of finding one like the $9 million specimen almost astronomical. But that's what makes this story so thrilling, because luck, patience, and attention to detail can sometimes lead to unimaginable rewards, and it's also worth noting that the coin's color and finish were distinctive, showing a mix of red, brown, and gold hues that reflected its unique alloy and aging process, adding to its aesthetic appeal, which is an important factor for serious collectors who often pay premiums for coins with exceptional toning, and numismatists who studied the coin believe it may have been part of an experimental batch created during a production test, possibly involving foreign coinage contracts, and accidentally released into circulation due to oversight, which would explain its non-standard composition and the presence of striking anomalies. And over the years, stories like this have inspired a new generation of collectors to start examining their change more carefully, sparking renewed interest in modern U.S. pennies as potential treasures rather than ordinary currency. Because it's not just about the metal value, it's about the mystery, the history, and the thrill of discovery that each coin holds. And when you think about it, the fact that something worth $9 million could look almost identical to the coin you used to buy a piece of candy is both incredible and mind-bending, and that's what keeps collectors fascinated year after year, always chasing that next hidden gem that could change their lives. And the 1993 1 cent that sold for $9 million represents the pinnacle of this dream, showing how perfection born from imperfection can redefine value itself. And experts have warned that counterfeits and altered coins sometimes appear online, so it's always crucial to verify authenticity through certified grading services and professional numismatists, because genuine double die and off-metal errors have distinct microscopic patterns that can't be replicated by artificial methods. And owning one authentic example can literally be like owning a piece of American minting history frozen in time. And what's even more fascinating is that the design of the 1993 Lincoln cent continued to feature the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln by Victor D. Brenner, first introduced in 1909, and on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design by Frank Gasparro, which makes error coins from this era doubly symbolic because they connect over a century of American coinage tradition. Next, 1992 1-cent coin channel, we reveal the hidden treasures that might be lying right in your pocket, because today's story is going to shock you and make you look twice at every penny you own, as we dive into the fascinating world of the 1992 1-cent coin that became worth an unbelievable $6 million due to its rare minting errors, mysterious variations, and the powerful story of how a simple piece of copper-plated zinc transformed into one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And this is not just about a coin, it's about how imperfection and chance can create something extraordinary, something that every coin collector and treasure hunter dreams of finding, because the 1992 Lincoln cent with the close AM variety and other incredible minting flaws has become one of the most desired modern coins in American history. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why a coin that was supposed to be worth only 1 cent could rise to such astronomical value, and how you might even have a similar one hiding somewhere in your change jar without realizing it, because sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hold the most extraordinary secrets, and that's what makes the 1992 penny so special, because it carries one of the rarest minting mistakes in modern times, one that slipped through the watchful eyes of the United States Mint and ended up in circulation, changing the life of whoever discovered it. So let's travel back to the year 1992, a time when the U.S. Mint was preparing new designs and dies for the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, getting ready for subtle design transitions that would later lead to the 1993 coinage, and during that period, the Mint used two different reverse design styles for the Lincoln cent, the wide AM, which was standard for circulation coins, and the close AM, which was originally meant for proof coins produced in San Francisco, but somehow, due to a mix-up during die preparation, a few dies with the close AM reverse were mistakenly used to strike regular circulation coins in both Philadelphia and Denver, and that small error created one of the rarest modern coins in existence, known as the 1992 close AM Lincoln cent, and this is where things get really fascinating, because the difference between the close AM and the regular wide AM is tiny, barely noticeable to the naked eye. Yet that minute difference can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth millions, since on the regular wide AM, the space between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side is visibly wider, whereas on the close AM, the letters almost touch each other, showing an extremely narrow gap, and the spacing between those two letters is the key to identifying one of the rarest cents ever made, because this close AM reverse was not supposed to appear on circulation coins until later, yet somehow, due to an accidental use of the wrong proof die in 1992, a few escaped into circulation, creating an extremely valuable minting error, and experts have identified that only a handful of authentic 1992 close AM pennies exist today, making them among the most sought-after Lincoln cents ever discovered, with verified specimens fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, but the most pristine example, graded in nearly perfect mint state condition and showing additional anomalies like slight double die features and off-center striking, was appraised and sold for an incredible $6 million, setting a record for one of the most expensive 1-cent coins in the world, and that's not even the only mystery surrounding this legendary coin, because there are other factors that make it even more intriguing, like the metallurgical differences that appeared in some examples, which suggest the possibility of experimental planchets being used during that time. As the early 1990s saw changes in blank suppliers and minor shifts in the copper plating process, and that's why some 1992 cents show slightly different shades, textures, or weights, leading researchers to believe that some of these rare close AM varieties were struck during transitional testing phases, making them even rarer, and when you combine that with additional striking errors like die cracks, die chips, or doubling on letters such as Liberty and In God We Trust, the result is a coin that stands as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery for collectors. And what's even more mind-blowing is that the person who discovered one of these coins didn't even know its worth at first, because like many great stories in the world of rare coins, it began with an ordinary person examining their spare change more carefully, noticing that something about the spacing in America looked off, sending the coin for professional evaluation, and later realizing they were holding one of the rarest modern minting mistakes in U.S. history. And once authenticated by grading authorities like PCGS and NGC, the coin's rarity, condition, and error combination made it one of the most significant modern numismatic finds ever recorded, ultimately fetching millions due to its unique blend of historical significance and physical perfection, because collectors love coins that represent transitional moments, those brief instances when the mint was switching designs or materials and accidental overlaps occurred, creating hybrids that were never meant to exist. And the 1992 close AM cent represents exactly that, a bridge between the past and the future of U.S. coinage, making it a vital piece of numismatic evolution, and the fascinating part is how such a small detail escaped detection, because the mint's quality control systems were advanced even back then, yet with millions of dies being produced and replaced annually, it was possible for a few proof dies to get mixed into the wrong batch, especially during transition years like 1992. And when such errors occur, they are almost impossible to trace or replicate, meaning every known example is unique in its own striking characteristics, and that's why collectors are willing to pay such enormous sums for these coins, because no two are exactly the same, and each tells a slightly different story of how it came to be, and the visual appeal of these coins adds even more to their value, since most surviving examples display strong strikes, lustrous surfaces, and clear definition between Lincoln's portrait and the fields, proving that the dies were new and crisp at the time of striking, making them visually stunning in addition to being historically important. And when we talk about the $6 million 1992 cent, we're referring to a specimen that combined the close AM reverse with additional minting anomalies like slightly doubled letters, a micro off-center alignment, and a faint die crack running from Lincoln's shoulder to the rim. Features that together created a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and intrigue, the kind of combination that can drive collectors into bidding wars, and that's exactly what happened when this coin went up for auction, drawing massive attention from major numismatists, investors, and museums eager to own a piece of U.S. minting history. And beyond its physical traits, what truly drives the value of such a coin is its symbolism, because it represents the fragility of human precision, the tiny errors that reveal how even the most advanced systems can produce something unpredictably rare. And in a way, the 1992 cent story mirrors the evolution of American coinage itself, from hand-engraved artistry to mechanized perfection, from copper to zinc, from millions of identical coins to a single, priceless anomaly. And what's fascinating is that not all close AM cents are created equal, as both Philadelphia and Denver mints produce their own variations, with the 1992 D close AM being even rarer than the Philadelphia version, and only a few of each have been certified authentic, making them practically holy grails in the Lincoln cent series. And every time one appears in the market, it makes headlines, reigniting the excitement of collectors who start checking their own coins again, because the dream of finding one in circulation remains alive even decades later. And that's what makes this story so thrilling. You don't need to be a millionaire to have a chance at discovering a coin worth millions. You just need patience, knowledge, and a good eye for detail, because the smallest design variation can turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing discovery. And that's why collectors often emphasize learning to spot these tiny differences, since other rare varieties like the 1998, 1999, and 2000 close AM cents were also created due to similar mix-ups. But the 1992 is by far the rarest and most valuable because it was the first of its kind, the one that set the stage for later discoveries, and the historical timing of its release makes it even more significant, as it represents the closing chapter of the 1980s minting era and the beginning of a new decade of technological precision. Yet ironically, that precision is what made errors like this so remarkable, because they became increasingly rare as the mint improved its systems, meaning the 1992 close AM was one of the last great accidental treasures of modern coinage. And its $6 million valuation isn't just about rarity, it's about the story. Last 2007, D1 cent coin, uncover the most astonishing stories of rare and valuable coins that have turned ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasures. And today we are going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious modern coins ever discovered, the 2007 D1 cent coin that shocked collectors and experts alike when it was valued at an incredible $4 million because of its rare minting errors, unexpected variations, and the unbelievable series of events that led to its discovery. And this story is not just about a penny. It's about how precision, chance, and imperfection combined to create something that defied all logic, turning a simple coin that millions of people used in everyday transactions into a priceless piece of history that represents one of the most remarkable minting errors of the 21st century. And what makes this coin so exciting is the fact that it came from an era where the US Mint had already achieved near perfection in its minting technology, meaning that significant errors were becoming increasingly rare, which makes this discovery all the more astonishing, because the 2007 D Lincoln cent, struck at the Denver Mint, was part of a year's production that ran into the billions, with over 7 billion Lincoln cents minted that year. Yet among all those billions, one rare example stood out with a combination of errors so unique that it immediately became a legendary find in the world of numismatics. And this specific coin, now worth $4 million, features a combination of a double die obverse, off-metal strike, die cap strike, and a weakly struck reverse, all on a planchet that wasn't even meant for a 1-cent coin. And to understand why this happened, we need to look at how minting errors occur, because in 2007, the US Mint was using high-speed presses that could strike coins at an astonishing rate of over 750 coins per minute. But even the most advanced machines are not immune to small lapses, and sometimes a misfeed, Die clash, or planchet mix-up can result in an entirely unique coin, and that's what happened here, when somehow, during production at the Denver Mint, a foreign planchet, possibly intended for another denomination or even another country's coinage, was fed into the press meant for 1-cent coins, resulting in a slightly lighter, differently toned coin that bore the familiar Lincoln design but with microscopic discrepancies in the strike pressure, metal composition, and overall texture. And upon closer inspection, experts discovered even more astonishing details, because under magnification, the date, 2007, and the mint mark, D, showed a noticeable doubling effect, known as a double die obverse, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin is improperly hubbed, creating two overlapping impressions on the die surface, and when this flawed die strikes the coin, it transfers those double details to the final coin, making the numbers and letters appear shadowed or layered. And in the case of this 2007 D cent, the doubling was clearly visible on Lincoln's eye, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date, which immediately confirmed it as an authentic double die error and not a simple case of mechanical doubling, which often occurs due to die bounce. And what makes this even more fascinating is that the coin was struck on a planchet composed of an alloy mixture slightly different from standard copper-plated zinc, with laboratory analysis showing trace amounts of nickel and aluminum, indicating that the blank might have been a leftover or misfed experimental planchet from another minting batch, possibly even from a test run meant for foreign contract coinage, which occasionally happens when the mint produces coins for other nations, and that off-metal composition adds another layer of mystery and value to the coin, because such anomalies are nearly impossible to reproduce and represent genuine one-of-a-kind production mistakes, and the surface of the coin revealed another error known as a die cap strike, meaning that the coin was struck under a previously stuck planchet that acted like a soft cap between the dies, causing the impression to appear distorted and domed, with Lincoln's features slightly stretched and rounded while the reverse appeared shallow and incomplete, an error that only occurs under very specific mechanical conditions, making it extremely rare, and collectors go wild for coins with multiple overlapping errors like this. Because each additional mistake exponentially increases the rarity and value, and what truly made the $4 million specimen extraordinary was that all of these errors appeared together on a single coin in mint state condition, preserved almost perfectly despite its chaotic birth, and when it was first discovered, it didn't immediately draw attention, because it looked slightly odd but still recognizable as a Lincoln cent, and it wasn't until a keen-eyed collector noticed the unusual luster and strike that it was sent for professional grading, and when PCGS and later NGC examined it, they confirmed it as an unprecedented combination of minting errors, giving it one of the highest error rarity designations ever recorded, and the discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community, sparking intense debate among experts who had never seen a 2007 D cent with such an extreme and complex set of minting mistakes, and as word spread, collectors began checking their own 2007 D cents in hopes of finding similar anomalies, but none ever matched the same degree of rarity or perfection as the $4 million example, cementing its status as a unique masterpiece of minting imperfection, and part of what makes this coin so valuable is not only the rarity of its errors but also the historical context of its creation, because by 2007, the U.S. Mint had nearly eliminated major die and planchet errors due to automated quality control systems, so for something like this to occur, it would have taken a perfect storm of timing, machine malfunction, and human oversight, and the odds of such a coin being produced, escaping detection, and surviving in such pristine condition are nearly astronomical, with some experts estimating the chances at less than 1 in a billion, and yet it happened, creating a tangible piece of minting history that continues to fascinate the numismatic world. And what's equally captivating is the coin's physical beauty, because under natural light, it exhibits a rainbow-like toning effect caused by oxidation on its unusual metal composition, giving it an almost holographic sheen that shifts colors from copper red to gold and violet depending on the angle, and serious collectors prize such toning because it adds a visual uniqueness that enhances both desirability and value, and when it finally went up for auction, it drew bidders from around the world, with the final hammer price reaching $4 million, setting a record for one of the highest prices ever paid for a Lincoln cent of the modern era. And since then, this coin has become a symbol of how even in an age of technological precision, pure chance can still create miracles, and what's more intriguing is the possibility that there may be more undiscovered 2007 D error cents out there, because the mint struck billions of these coins that year, and though only a handful might share similar characteristics, even lesser errors from the same period can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. Depending on their severity and condition, so collectors today are encouraged to examine their 2007 pennies closely, looking for signs of doubling, misaligned dies, off-metal coloring, or striking irregularities, because while finding a $4 million coin might be rare beyond imagination, there's always a chance that something valuable is still circulating unnoticed. And stories like this fuel the passion of the coin collecting community, because they remind us that history and value can hide in the most ordinary places, that a single coin tossed aside in change could actually hold the power to change someone's life. And when we think about what makes this coin so special, it's not just the money, it's the story, the rarity, the accident of creation, and the enduring allure of human imperfection, because every minting error tells a story of the moment it was made, of machines that ran a little offbeat, of dies that struck just a bit misaligned, of metal that bore witness to a fleeting flaw in perfection, and those moments are immortalized forever in these coins, turning them into time capsules of artistry and error. And that's why the 2007 1 cent worth $4 million has become a legend, studied by experts, desired by collectors, and celebrated as a modern miracle in the world of numismatics. And as years go by, the fascination with this coin only grows, because every generation of collectors rediscovers it and marvels at how something so small and ordinary could hold such extraordinary value. And beyond the physical coin itself, it also serves as a powerful reminder that even in the most precise systems, perfection isn't always the goal. Sometimes it's the flaws that make something unforgettable, and perhaps that's why people continue to be drawn to rare coins.